the punctuations are different. Wait till the end just so you know. Please don't make any big mistakes. You don't know half of the rules. All the punctuations are different. Wait for the end just so you know. Please don't make any big mistakes. You don't know half of the rules. First we'll start with the common rules. They go between all of these. But that's not all, cause you still gotta add commas before fanboys. You need to know the grammar rules for the endings to end with period, exclamation, and question marks. Remember, they all go inside the quotation. And after all I've said, please don't forget, all the punctuations are different. Wait till the end just so you know. Please don't make any big mistakes. You don't know half of the rules.
First, let's talk about the colon. Colons are used to introduce an item or list, or to go between independent sentences when the second explains or illustrates the first. Some common mistakes include using a colon to substitute instead of a comma. Here is an incorrect example. To complete your admission application, send the required documents by the end of the month. Another common mistake is using a colon after a preposition. Here is an incorrect example. The council announced cutbacks in research funding, international cooperation, and staff development. A third common mistake includes using a colon after the phrases such as, for example, and including. Although all of these examples introduce a list, colons should only be used between independent sentences when the second explains or illustrates the first. Another common mistake is using more than one colon in a sentence. But you can use a semicolon and a colon in the same sentence. In this, both are independent sentences, and the second sentence illustrates the first part. It also tells us that colons precede lists. The only error here is that the colon was used twice in the sentence. However, it is used correctly in introducing the list.
Next comes the semicolon. Still don't know how to use a semicolon? That's okay. We'll tell you right now. Yes, it's true that semicolons can be confusing, but that's what we're here for. Semicolons are used to link two sentences that are similar to each other and are used when two sentences are connected by conjunctive adverbs or transitional words. For example, some people write with a word processor. Others write with a pen or pencil. Semicolons are also known as supercommas because they are used in place of a comma to separate items on a list when the items that are separated also include commas themselves. For example, Johnny has been to many big cities: Las Vegas, Nevada; Atlanta, Georgia; Los Angeles, California; Miami, Florida. Sure, you can use semicolons for winky faces, but it's important to remember that they connect two independent clauses. Quotation marks are relatively easy to understand, and the main difficulty with quotation marks is assessing where it is appropriate to use them. Many people tend to use them when they are not necessary. Look at these suspicious quotation marks. Employees must wash hands? What does that mean? These suspicious quotation marks confuse the reader, which is why it is important to learn correct usage. Here are some rules about quotation marks that will be helpful. They are used to set off a direct word-for-word quotation like, "He said, I am very tired." You should capitalize the first word in a complete quotation, but not parts of quotations that you use to continue a sentence. Take these following two sentences as examples. He told us that only if we work hard, we are going to win. He said, we are going to win only if we work hard. When there's a quotation within a quotation, use single quotation marks. Dan said, in a town outside Boston, I saw tourists go home written on a wall, but then someone told me, pay it no mind. Quotation marks are also often used with technical terms, terms used in an unusual way, or other expressions that vary from standard usage. If you look at this image, it is emphasized that quotations are not to be used for emphasis, which is a common mistake that people may make. Over here, the quotation marks are used correctly, because it implies a hidden meaning and tells us that the word free is not being used in its usual way.
Apostrophes seem simple enough, but still can be misused. A very common misuse is adding an apostrophe to make something plural. Here are a few basic rules to help you with apostrophes. An apostrophe is used to show possession, like Tom's bicycle or his aunt's cupcakes. You must be careful when adding an apostrophe after a noun or proper noun ending in S to make it possessive. Mr. Hastings has a cat. This is Mr. Hastings' cat. It's Mr. Hastings', not Mr. Hastings, because that would give the impression that the person we are talking about has the last name Hastings when it's actually Hastings. However, when the noun we want to make possessive is already in its plural form and ends in S, the apostrophe simply goes at the end. For example, the soldiers had guns, the soldiers' guns. Apostrophes are also used to denote contractions and/or they are placed where the letter or letters have been removed. Do not changes to don't, will not changes to won't, could not changes to couldn't, and so on. In this example, the letter G is being replaced with an apostrophe. Apostrophes are not used to make nouns plural, except in cases when the words are not nouns and need to be written in plural form. Lastly, be careful not to confuse apostrophe with a single quotation mark.
We are gonna learn punctuation today. It can be hard sometimes. Position makes quite a difference. I know it's hard sometimes. Period, comma, semicolon, and colon. These can be hard sometimes. Then hyphen, apostrophe, and question mark can also be hard sometimes. Oh, we don't know it, so we're taking the time to learn. Oh, we don't know it, so we're taking the time to learn. Oh, taking our time to learn. Let's talk about the period at first. It comes at the end, so it can't be the worst. How the colon is used, we can cause its few. Semicolons too, and they're hard to do, but the comma can be a bit tiresome. Can be used after many things. Phrases, clauses, and word PC. They're similar true, and it's hard to do. Even hard as the hyphen, because dazzlers won't do it. Apostrophe shows there's possession too. Quotation marks can be added into, but the question marks still, after all, they come. Like, what is it used for? What does it come before? And do you understand? Oh, we didn't know this, so we're taking the time to learn. Oh, we didn't know it, so we're taking the time to learn. Oh, taking the time to learn.
Hyphens are used to connect two or more ideas into one idea. They join two or more words acting as adjectives to the preceding noun, but if the adjective comes after the noun, the words are not hyphenated. Note that very and words ending in ly are not hyphenated. Adverbs with ly are exceptions. Compound numbers and ages also use hyphens. Use hyphens when trying to repeat, avoid doubling of letters next to each other, avoid confusion with meaning, and to join ethnicities or names. These are some examples: semi-important, African Americans, Juan Martinez, or Elizabeth Murray. Hyphens are not used for all words with a re as the first letters. Doing this can give the word an entirely different meaning. For example, recreation is different than recreation. You did not play recreation soccer as a kid, you played recreation. You did not recover from an injury, you recovered. It's not a chicken co-op, it's a chicken coop. Another common mistake is using something other than a dash to end a clause that starts one. The largest dog in the park, Truffles, is very kind. The largest dog in the park, Truffles, is very kind. Hyphens are also used for passages of time or referring to or through, such as through pages 55 to 253, numbers 2 through 25, 12 p.m. to 4:12 p.m. Hyphens are used for prefixes and when the noun after is capitalized. Prefixes are not used for titles. Correct examples would be ex-husband, anti-American, mid-1700s, pre-World War II. Incorrect examples would be Mr. Monopoly or Dr. Strange. Use hyphens when trying to break apart syllables and words at the end of the sentence. Yes, they are different. Dashes are used to interrupt. They can replace is or are sometimes. They can be used in place of parentheses and colons. They can be used to define a noun. Do not use dashes as commas for subordinated clauses. The period is the easiest punctuation to use. Here are the rules that one has to follow for the usage of the period. It comes at the end of a sentence. If the last word of a sentence ends with an abbreviation that needs a period, you do not need to include another period. Do you have questions about question marks? Don't worry, we'll answer them. They come after a direct question and replaces a period.
The word that follows the question mark should be capitalized. Don't use question marks with indirect questions. Some common problems include the position of a question mark in a sentence with quotation marks can be tricky. However, if the sentence as a whole is a question, then the question will be outside the quotation marks. Lastly, let's talk about commas. Some common problems include making the mistake of putting commas outside the quotation marks. Also, some people might not be used to using the Oxford comma, which is used before and or, but some people omit it because they think it is unnecessary. However, sometimes they need it. For example, I like fries, mac and cheese, and burgers. In this case, mac and cheese refers to one item and can be a bit confusing to spot that out without a comma, and thus we write it this way. I like fries, mac and cheese, and burgers. Commas are to be put within quotation marks if the quote mentioned needs a comma right after it ends. They can be used right before starting a quote when the quote is introduced. If you are talking about something and you add a little description within the statement, you should surround it with commas. For example, Sam, who wears black glasses, did not seem to be interested in joining the club. Add a comma after a dependent clause if it comes first, unless the whole sentence is very clear. For example, having read the whole speech, we now have to edit it. Commas can also be used to separate two adjectives. For example, I had a long, tiring day.